Morning, everyone. Welcome to our this week's community AMA. My name is Alcatraz. I'm the lead designer at Raini Studios, working on our flagship title, The Lords of Light. And I'm joined today, obviously, by Drasnibar, one of our community members, who graciously assists us out and helps collate questions and gather, yeah, finds out what the community's interested in. And yeah, we do these weekly AMAs to have a chat with you. How you doing today, Dras?
Yeah, good. Thanks very much. Problems with my headphones. I'm on the speaker, so I'm just going to shut that off, obviously, whenever we talk. But you pretty well said it all. I just coordinate all the questions and make sure none of them get missed. But Alcatraz is the man with the info, so over to him.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of info, a lot of stuff to go over today. Apologies in advance if this is yet another AMA that goes for more than an hour. I swear we try to keep these to an hour, but yeah, always an interesting challenge to try to make that, because obviously so much stuff that we love sharing with our community, and we love to make sure we answer as many questions as we can as well. So for today, what I actually wanted to do, so big week, obviously, for Rainy the Lords of Light and for Rainy Studios. We've got a lot of big things happening. Obviously, in the next 24 hours, we have our Rainy Signature Collection mint. We'll be finishing. That's an auction running over on JPEGs at the moment. I'll post the link for that into the comments just there. The bidding is currently up to 13 AVAX, which is approximately 225 US dollars at the moment. So yeah, about 24 hours left for bidding on that one. A lot of cool stuff, obviously, for that particular piece of art. I mean, gorgeous art, obviously, created by our art team. And probably the big thing that everyone's sort of looking at for that one, whoever is the first person to win that particular NFT, that auction, not only will they get a 1-hour meeting with any of the Rainy team members, so you can chat to myself about design, you could chat to Artkin and Mindspheres about starting a Web3 game studio, you could chat to our art team, our development team, whoever you like. But you'll also have the ability to design a card for the Lords of Light to be released in a future expansion. So if you are one of the players who loves the idea of having either their own card, or maybe you've got a specific card in mind that you'd love to see in the game, that auction is a way that we're enabling that for our community. Obviously, we've said this many times, our design, art, and QA teams will have the final say on any card design. Obviously, with the idea that we want to make sure that it's fun to play, not unbalanced, the art isn't offensive, that sort of thing, obviously there as well. We also dropped a couple of Medium posts last week. So probably the big one is this guy just here, which has all the details for the 7 Deadly Sins mint. That mint actually will start in just under 24 hours time. So it's at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. And I believe I'll double check, but the time should be in here. I believe it was 5 p.m. Eastern for our US friends. You'll be able to buy packs across 3 chains, so Ethereum, Avalanche, and Binance Smart Chain. And obviously, you'll also be able to enter our raffles and auctions via rainbows and unicorns, which obviously, if you are staking the Rainy token, you would have some of those in your wallet, I guess. And all the systems that will go live in the next 24 hours. So we'll have the raffles online from tomorrow. The auctions will kick in a little bit later on. We just need to make sure that all those systems are in there ready to go. Obviously, there's going to be, in terms of what you can buy on those 3 chains, we're going to have collector packs, and we're also going to have Chad bundles available. Chad bundles will basically be 17 collector packs for the price of 15, so 1.5 Ethereum. You are guaranteed that one of those packs will contain at least 1 mythic. Just I guess a little point of clarification. I've seen this question pop up a little bit during the week. That doesn't mean that those 17 packs will only have 1 mythic. It just means we are guaranteeing that one of them will contain at least 1 mythic. So theoretically, you could crack 2 or more mythics, but you will crack at least 1, is what we're basically saying there. Also important to keep in mind, sure we mentioned this in here somewhere as well. There's going to be a sale running for the first week. So 10% off both the collector packs and the Chad bundles. So there'll be 0.09 Ethereum and 1.35 Ethereum respectively. As for the price of both of those on the other chains, we're going to set that basically as close as possible to when the actual mint goes live, but it'll be 0.1 Ethereum in BNB or in Avalanche, basically is how we're doing that. And those chains will obviously get the same sale as well. So those 10% off sales will apply on there as well. The reason we're trying not to lock that price in until basically the very last minute. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, there is a little bit of market volatility at the moment, and we just want to try and do everything we can to ensure that the value of those collector packs and Chad bundles is as close to even across the three chains. One of our big design philosophies that we're really driving towards is we want our players to be able to own their assets on whatever chain they prefer. And obviously, one of the ways we can do that is make sure, at least as much as we can do from our perspective, is make sure that those assets all have at least the same starting value when we release them for the community. And then, yeah, obviously the Rainy signature collection we just touched on. The link's there for the JPEGs link. So yeah, that's got about 23 hours left to go, I believe. 23 and a half hours. But yeah, definitely a very cool piece of art there. We will probably release other pieces in the signature collection moving forward, but they will be very exclusive. We're not going to flood the market with them. These are going to be very, very specific, very selected pieces of art from the Rainy universe. Cool. The other thing that I was going to do this morning before we jump into the questions, because obviously 7 Deadly Sins is launching literally, just under 24 hours away, was quickly go through all of the cards. There's obviously a lot of cool cards in this particular set, and we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to know all the cards and see what they all do. So without further ado, obviously, if you have a look at the screen there, I've got the image up for Lust and Chastity, our 2 red cards. So you'll notice that for the 7 colors, every color gets a legendary and a rare. And there is also a mythic as well, which I may or may not reveal a little bit later on today. But yeah, so let's kick it off actually with a card that we haven't shown yet, which is our blue rare, which is Charity, which is this guy just here. So Charity is a blue season. At the start of each turn, the active player draws an additional card. So if you're ever playing and you're always sort of running out of cards, this might be a way to fix that. Although obviously important to keep in mind that this will draw for both players. And because obviously you'll play it on your own turn, the opponent will actually get the first bit of advantage out of this. But having said that, maybe you've got some strategies in mind. Maybe you're going to be doing some banishing or some time traveling that maybe will turn that potentially negative into a positive. So yeah, that's Charity there. Envy is another new card that we haven't actually shown off just yet. These are just going in alphabetical order. And coincidentally, I've shown off a lot of cards from the later cards in the alphabet. So Envy is our purple legendary spell. Envy's the rare. I'm thinking of a different one. That art actually hasn't generated properly. Hang on, let me just check that. Completely got myself mixed up there. Oh, don't you love doing shows live?
Hasn't mixed up. Is legendary is the gold one, isn't it?
Yeah, so sorry. This is the right wording for Envy. It's just got the wrong image on it. It's got the image for humility, so it's exported the wrong image there. But obviously we'll fix that in the actual game. But yeah, so Envy, very interesting spell. Puts 2 copies of target opponent's minion into your hand. And the interesting thing here is it doesn't say non-icon. So there's a lot of very interesting things you can potentially do with this card. Obviously, they're being put into your hand, so it's not like Nifty where it's putting them directly into play. So you've obviously got to keep in mind that a big part of this might actually be, can you play the card that you're potentially copying? Maybe you copy a card that has an on-stake ability. In our testing, we've actually seen this get used quite a bit with Snow Leopard, which feels like such a weird thing to use, like such a powerful card with that. But yeah, it's been very interesting testing. And yeah, if you jump over onto the let's actually pull up the art for Envy, because the art looks amazing as well, obviously. Envy. So this is the art for Envy just there. All the art is revealed now on the in the medium as well. So you can go in there and see some of the high quality artwork on there as well. Yeah,
Nice.
very cool. Very, very cool little card there. And yeah, I know a lot of players because we revealed the artwork a little bit earlier, and a lot of players have been trying to guess what this particular card does. So yeah, hopefully they'll find that one interesting. Moving on, Gluttony, the meatball. This is probably, as weird as this sounds, this is probably one of my favorite cards that I've designed for this set. It's such a fun, interesting card, and it's something very different to what we've done before, where a lot of other cards obviously had to have abilities and did various things. Gluttony is a 100/100 minion. He costs 5 green gems, so you need to be very dedicated to green to get this one into play. But if you are very heavy in green, then you can play the meatball. So yeah, probably not much more to say there. It's a pretty simple design, but yeah, definitely for the players who love dropping big minions and swinging them into your opponent's face, this card can be a lot of fun. Gratitude. This is actually one of our first what we're calling like persistent spells. So this is basically a spell that has an effect that will basically last until the end of the turn. So kind of similar to a season, except it will just last for that one specific turn. Until the end of your turn, your minions are banished after attacking an enemy minion. This is basically the combo breaker. This is the big combo card of the set. So every time your minions attack, if they're not killed, so keep in mind, minions dying will trigger before banishing will trigger, same as banish strike and stuff like that at the moment. But yeah, there's definitely some interesting potential combos here. If you've got cards that have on-play abilities, if you've got cards potentially that have pumped, there's a lot of interesting sort of effects you might be able to pull off with this one. So very interesting to see what the community does with it.
So the point of that is like for your benefit, if you were to play that card, like you're saying, you have cards in your deck that you just basically want to put down again and use their power.
Yeah, and depending on if that minion is potentially able to attack over and over, like I mean, to give a practical example, if you had say I'm trying to think of a
Pudgy
pump
Posse?
card. Yeah,
Oh,
Pudgy Posse, exactly. If you had that, and your opponent had a board full of say replicators, in theory you could play them, 7 times and swing into and hit all 7 of those like replicators, for example. And I mean, this actually, with the interesting combo we've actually found with this is actually with the Year of the Rabbit card, and actually with the Campai Pandas card, but we haven't revealed what that does yet to the community. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, definitely with because this isn't a season, you can obviously have When Lambo in play when you play it. If you have minions with overkill, this could potentially do a fair bit of damage to the face. So yeah, there's a lot of interest. I'm really curious to see which of the many different ways you can build decks around this card. The community sort of tests out and sort of goes with. So yeah, very, very cool.
yeah, cool.
Greed. This is, I believe, the most expensive spell well, I mean, it's 12 gems. It's the most expensive spell we can print. Although there is a card for 13 gems that we're planning in a future set. But yeah, that one's still going through some testing, and I'm still fiercely discussing with Artgen whether or not he'll let me print that card. But yeah, it's very, very fun one. But yeah, Greed. So very heavily in blue. Very interesting ability. So draw a card for each gem you have. So under most situations, that's going to draw you 12 cards. Keeping in mind any cards that go over your hand limit of 10, obviously get burnt and destroyed. So this is actually most likely is going to actually destroy some of the cards in your deck. And if you don't have, if say it's towards the end of the game, you don't have many cards left, this could actually end up killing you. So definitely worth keeping in mind there. You got to be very selective in how you choose to use this card. And then obviously, because it costs a lot, we added a little bit extra there. Probably not a big deal. Just take an extra turn, or an additional turn, I should say, after this one. So the way that works is literally when you press the end turn button, it comes up and says, hey, it's your turn again, and off you go again. So you will draw a card, all your gems will recharge, and it's a fresh turn. So yeah, definitely a very interesting card, and could be the missing piece of the puzzle that mono blue decks have been looking for, just to give them that little bit of extra push over the finish line.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely a fun one there as well. Humility. This is a new one for us as well. We haven't revealed this card, and obviously this is the correct art on this card as well. Nice, simple. It's just a spell. Destroy all minions of power 30 or less. So kind of a very selective board wipe there, depending on how the board looks and how you choose to play things out. If your opponent is pumping out the replicators and the rabbits, this might be a very interesting one-sided board clear. But yeah, a very like a lot of our pink cards. A lot of pink cards are very situational. They're kind of what I guess in other TCG terms we call like toolbox cards, where you might put a couple in a deck as answers to specific decks maybe that you need a little bit of extra power with. So yeah, interested to see what the community does with this one as well. But yeah, in our testing, it's been a very interesting card so far. Meekness. So full disclosure with this one, and with all these cards, is that obviously we are still going through testing. Some of these cards may change before they actually finally go live within the client. This is one that is probably the front runner at the moment of needing something changed about it. But we'll keep testing and we'll see where it ends up. So Meekness is a yellow season. Minions of power 80 or greater cannot attack. That affects both sides of the board. So if your opponent just has gluttonies in play, for example, that can give them a bit of strife. Obviously, yellow enjoys having small, pumped minions. So definitely feels like yellow is the color that could definitely take advantage of this. But yeah, obviously got to be very careful in terms of how and when you choose to use it. It makes a lot of combos very interesting. If you're playing this card, you've got to be very careful with Aurora, which obviously a lot of small aggro decks really want to play. You've got to be really careful if your opponent has access to Hopium, because they can actually turn off your minions by just making them too big to actually be able to attack. So yeah, definitely some interesting combos there as well. But yeah, we're seeing in our testing, we're seeing a lot more like yellow aggro sort of style decks that just use this to sort of give that little bit of cover just to get themselves over the finish line.
But as with any season, I suppose the opponent could play their own season, wipe that one out
Yeah,
for that
absolutely.
period. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're relying on that and your opponent, plays a season on their turn, obviously this effect goes away. Important to note as well that there's nothing stopping you from attacking with your minions that have power 80 or greater, then playing Meekness on a turn. So definitely one of those cards that not only it matters when in the game that you play it, but also can definitely matter when in your turn you choose to play it as well. Pride. This one actually is I love the art for this one. I'll pull up the full art for it as well actually because it looks amazing. Obviously with our new card frames, it can be a bit hard to show off the full cards. But I'll pop him there on the screen just next to that. Oop.
Avalanche.
Yeah, nice little call out there to our friends at Avalanche Gaming. Thought we'd throw that one on there. But yeah, Pride, very interesting card. Set all minions' power to be equal to their HP and end your turn. So it's the first time we've done an end your turn card. That generally lets us print things a little bit more powerful. primarily because your opponent will always have a turn to respond to it, which is obviously really important. Setting all minions' powers be equal to HP. Again, that applies on both sides of the board. This is a legendary too, so it's only one of in the deck, but definitely a powerful ability that could be the difference between winning and losing a game. So yeah, definitely keen to see how players use this one as well. All right, up next, Sloth. This was revealed, I believe it was yesterday, by our friends over at Campai Pandas. If you thought Gluttony was a meatball, wait till you meet Sloth. He's a big boy and has an interesting ability where he cannot attack. So I'll let the players decide how they might want to use and abuse this card. Maybe this is a very interesting card to reveal right after we reveal Pride. But yeah, definitely some cool ways to potentially abuse it. And I just want to pull up the art for this as well, because there's a little detail that I don't know if everyone has seen. Actually, where is it? Have I got it? Where is the Sloth art? I had it in a folder, but maybe I don't. Oh, let's zoom in, see if we can see it here. I don't know how well this is going to show over a screen share, but the little Rainy icons up here on the on his little hat, I thought looked
Oh
really cool.
yeah, cool.
Yeah,
They blend in
it's
quite well in the background when it's tiny.
yeah, it might be a bit hard to see on the screen share, but obviously
Still,
we'll be
that's
able to
cool.
see these in game very very soon.
Yeah,
So,
sweet.
just to quickly answer Joffa's question he's just asked. They'll be available in the game as soon as they're all ready. We're confident they're bug tested, and that we feel they are balanced at this point in time as well. So, yeah, hopefully very soon. But yeah, we'll keep you updated on that one.
So all the, like you're saying there, all the 7 deadly sins will be available for people playing the alpha up until
Yes.
we have to have our own cards as soon as they're ready.
Yes. Yeah.
So people
So
can have a
as
go
I
at it.
said, at this, yep. So at this stage, obviously, still all cards are unlocked. That will be the case when Seven Deadly Sins launches in the client. But then obviously, yeah, at some point we're going to switch that off as we move towards open beta and full release, and you will need to have the cards unlocked in your account to be able to play them. All right. Up next, we have. Zoom out, so let me go to the next card. There we go. Temperance. This one we revealed actually pretty early on in the Seven Deadly Sins teasers and releases. Another heavy green investment, and a very interesting ability. Restore your hero to full health, and you cannot stake cards for the remainder of the game. So very interesting when you keep in mind that you could theoretically play this on turn 5, turn 4. Whether or not you want to do that or not is a very different discussion whatsoever. When we print cards, mint cards, I guess I should say. I'm so used to saying print cards that have powerful abilities. We'll generally do them in such a way that they can also have a require a little bit of extra skill to know when to play them, and could potentially have a negative effect if played at the wrong time. So this would be an example of that, where if you did have to drop this early for whatever reason, maybe your opponent has a very aggressive, yellow red deck or something like that. Maybe it's like a Phoenix Lambo combo or something like that. It's getting you doing a lot of damage. Yeah, maybe this is the way to keep yourself alive, but is it really going to be the best move long term? So yeah,
So
interesting to note here as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
no, I
go,
was going
Grass.
to say, so you don't get any more gems, obviously, if you can't stake anymore. But at the beginning of each turn, you get a card from your deck, regardless, even if you played this thing.
Yeah, so you'll still draw a card at the start of your turn, same as any turn. But yeah, like the staking well, the animation is going to be really cool. The staking well actually will like crumble and be destroyed on your side of the board.
Wow.
So there'll be nothing to drag the card. There'll literally be nothing to drag the card into.
Yeah.
So yeah, cannot stake cards, which does mean you don't get that second card draw every turn, unless your opponent or yourself played Charity, for example. Then you get the second draw through that. But yeah, you won't get the draw from staking. And also important to keep in mind, it means that whatever gems you have is what you have. And if you were to play this with just 5 green gems, then it's going to be very, very hard, not impossible, but very hard for you to get any other colored gems at all. Quite often, this is being played in what we internally call Rainbow Lotus decks, because obviously, Rainbow Lotus, Money Print. So there are still ways to gain gems. Rainbow Lotus obviously being a way to gain gems of different colors. But yeah, definitely very important to think when you play this card. Very powerful ability, but potentially a very negative side effect as well. So
Awesome.
cool. Wrath. This has been fun. We actually, if you jump on to Twitter, you can actually see the I leaked the on play animation. I might play it here as well in a second for this one because it looks really cool. Wrath, yellow spell, destroy all minions of power 80 or greater. So yellow, obviously, sort of developing this sort of cares about the number 80 sort of little theme amongst it. Which even if you go back to like the Genesis set, you'll notice a lot of yellow minions had power 70 or below sort of thing. So 80 has always been an important number in yellow. Also an important number in terms of 420, just how the math sort of divides up in terms of attacks and stuff too. But yeah, interesting card. Just depending on when you play it, depending on what your opponent is playing, again, can be like a toolbox sort of card where sometimes it will do nothing, but sometimes it could just wipe out your opponent's side of the board. So an interesting one there. And give me a sec and I'll find the animation for it because the animation looks awesome. I don't actually know if this will play audio or not, but we'll find out.
Nice.
Yeah, did it play the audio from the video or not? I'm not sure if it does or not.
No, I didn't. I didn't hear anything.
Bugger. You'll have to wait to hear it in game. But yeah, definitely very cool little ability. And that will be, again, similar to like Elon and stuff like that. We'll hit the specific targets and stuff like that too. So yeah, looks really cool. And the final card, if we don't count the mythic, is Zeal. I know we revealed the video of the Zeal effect as well. So this is a multi-shot X. It's our first multi-shot X card. So for every gem you have, deal 10 damage to a random enemy minion. Again, interesting card. If you played it as soon as you could on turn 4, it's going to do 40 damage. Maybe that's important. I mean, if your opponent has a wizard out early or something like that, maybe that's a good. You definitely want to use it to sort of clear the board. Or maybe you hold it back until a late game and use it to do more of a damage across a larger range of the board. Very interesting that because it's individual shots of 10 damage, this basically annihilates force fields a lot of the time. But yeah, it does still have that slightly random element in terms of where it's going to hit. So again, in testing, a lot of players will basically use their own minions to sort of manipulate the opponent's board state to a certain point, and then drop this at the right time. Can make it a very powerful little card. I'll find.
It annihilates force fields because once a card has been hit with something, the force field's gone. Is that right?
Yeah. So force field basically just prevents the next source of damage that a card would take. So theoretically, like if you played, you say your opponent just had one minion on the board that had force field, and you played Zeal with 4 gems, so it's going to do 10 damage 4 times. So that first lot of 10 will basically get absorbed by the force field, which destroys it, and then the other 3 would hit it and do 30 damage. So if your opponent has, if they've just played Cohen, for example, they've got a board full of force fields, this can actually be a very interesting sort of answer to that.
Fantastic.
So yeah, definitely a very cool tool in Orange's arsenal. And I believe I need to name my videos better. So this will either be the video for Zeal or I'm about to leak something I'm not meant to. So hopefully this is the right video, but we'll find out.
I'm pretty sure we've seen that one.
Yeah, that one's on YouTube. But if you actually go back and watch that video, like I said, it's linked on our YouTube. It's linked on our Twitter. yeah, you'll see that it hits the Seraph in the middle, kills the force field, hits it 3 more times, drops it down from 60 to 30 health. So,
Yeah, sweet.
yeah, very cool sort of card.
Excellent animation on that one too.
Yeah, the team has done. I mean, I sing the praises of our whole team, the developers, the artists, the QA, like everyone does some really amazing work.
Yeah.
And lets me as a designer get away with probably way more than I'm meant to. So yeah, that's been
That's
really
good.
fun. So the art, the card image for the final card, the Mythic. Let me find that here. All right, we ready to see the Mythic?
Yes. That's not it.
It is, because I'm waiting for our artist to come online to send me the full image. Which, unless he might even be watching this now. So yeah, Hitbox, if you hear this, please send me that art so I can reveal it fully.
Sweet.
Because yeah, we made this up as a joke. We deliberately made the text too small to read, because that seemed pretty funny, and we like trolling our community. But you can see that it's a mythic. You can see that it costs 7 rainbow gems. Would you like to know what is written on the card?
Yes, please.
Okay. Gain 2 random colored gems. Draw 2 cards. Deal 20 damage to all enemy minions. All friendly minions gain power plus 20. All friendly minions gain HP plus 20. Banish 2 random enemy minions. Freeze 2 random enemy minions.
Wow, that's a serious set of power.
Yeah, you get basically all 7 colors, what those colors like to do. We pretty much put it onto a card, and yeah. So, not an easy card to play. 7 rainbow gems is not an insignificant ask, but if you are able to play it and you're in the right sort of board state, this is a mythic which is easily up there with our other mythics. So think Chad Rainey or Quantum Rug in terms of the effect it can have on the board. Yeah, no poison on this one. So if you actually look at the abilities, you should be able to sort of see where each sort of color was inspired from. The one card art, please. Might be able to show it soon because our artist has just come online. Yeah, so obviously, gain 2 random colored gems, very green ability. Draw 2 cards, very blue. 20 damage to all enemy minions. I guess that's like orange sort of thing. Power, very red. HP, very pink. Banish, very purple. Freeze, very blue. So yeah, like every sort of colors in there and represented. Important thing to note, the card will trigger each of those 7 abilities in that order, which is important to keep in mind. So, for example, it will banish 2 minions before it freezes the 2, and would have done 20 damage to all minions before that as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting card. I mean, with mythics in general, the sort of design philosophy we're going for at this stage, and keep in mind this could very easily change as we move forward and do potentially more mythics in future sets. But mythics are, because of the restriction you have on deck building, they're very much a supporting piece of the puzzle. They're designed to not necessarily maybe have a whole deck built around them, although with some, maybe you could argue Aurora kind of does, but they're definitely designed to support a range of different decks and a range of different strategies. In the same way that we see, for example, Chad Rainey and Quantum Rug gets played in a lot of different decks, depending on what that deck needs. I would, at this stage, I believe the 7 Deadly Sins fits that design philosophy quite nicely, where there are some decks that can get access to all 7 colors, and for those decks, this will give them that little extra bit of firepower under the hood. But yeah, very, very mythical spell there to keep in mind. So important to keep in mind, again, being a mythic spell, that if you were to choose to run this, that obviously means that you can't run Aurora or Rainbow Lotus. The Rainbow Lotus is probably the most important thing to keep in mind there, because it does generally mean that if you're going to go for this card, you're going to be playing some sort of 7-color deck. And again, if you're willing to put in the effort to get 7 different color gems, you should be rewarded by having access to arguably one of the most powerful spells ever printed in the Lords of Light.
Very nice. One for the hunchos.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what all our players sort of do to abuse this card. And I mean, it's also the sort of card that like a lot of players will look at it, will appreciate the power of the card, and maybe this is the motivation to try and see if they can get 7-color decks sort of up and running. Maybe we'll finally start seeing more Leprechauns and Rainigons being played. But at the end of the day, it's up to the players to decide what decks they believe are the best ones and go from there.
Fantastic.
So that is the 7 deadly sins. So like I said, 15 cards in the set. Packs will go live in just under 23 hours from now. So 5 p.m. US Eastern on Valentine's Day. That will be 9 a.m. on the 15th of February for any other fellow Australians. We celebrate Valentine's Day before the rest of you for some reason. But yeah, hopefully that's been an interesting look into the cards, give you a little bit of the background and some of the current thoughts around the design. But yeah, I'd say Draz are probably good to start going into some of the questions.
Yeah, sure. Just on the drop, I suppose, when it does go live, in the older drops, a lot of things, they're fairly immediate. So everyone's rushing to put their bids in and get them into their wallet. But with this one here, is there any urgency? You just submit your however many raffles you want, and then it just runs for 10 hours. So there's no like immediate urgency except right at the end.
Yeah, so there's a few reasons why we've switched to the raffle and auction system, and definitely one of them is just to try and remove the luck that can happen quite often in mints. If you for whatever reason, don't happen to be at your computer in 23 hours, that first raffle will run for 10 hours. So, you can buy your tickets straight away. You can buy them anytime in the 10 hours, and that will obviously be important. The reason why we're doing them every 10 hours is it will naturally stagger the finish times for the raffles and auctions across a 24-hour period. So what we're hoping will happen there is it makes it much easier for people, regardless where you happen to be in the world, to participate in each of them. Probably not as important for the auctions, sorry, for the raffles, but obviously for the auctions, very important. If you've ever bought anything on eBay, you obviously know that the most important part in an auction is the end. So yeah, want to obviously make sure that regardless of where you happen to be in the world, you've got as close as possible to equal opportunity to participate across those. As for the packs, the collector packs and the Chad bundles, obviously they will be a first come, first served basis. So yeah, there'll be at this stage, there'll be 3 Chad bundles available across each of the 3 chains we're supporting. So Ethereum, Avalanche, and BSC, Binance. So yeah, if you are looking to get a Chad bundle, I would very strongly recommend that you try to be online bashing the F5 key. I know our web devs hate when I say that because it puts so much more work on their servers. As close to the start of the mint as possible. And I mean, also, if you're even just looking to pick up like a bunch of collector packs, probably again wouldn't be a bad idea. But yeah, if you're specifically interested in the raffles and the auctions with rainbows and unicorns, yeah, you do have that little bit of extra time, which, like I said, should take away some of that, unfairness of just who has the faster internet connection, and should allow more of our community to participate in each one if they choose. And obviously, it takes some of the work off our back end web developers, where they don't have to have quite as much traffic smashing into their website all at once. But I know we had no issues for the mint when Genesis went live, and that was a while ago, obviously. And we have spun up more capacity than what we had then. So hopefully we'll be in a good spot. But I mean, yeah, any Australians who tried to buy pink tickets yesterday understands what happens when when everyone tries to all go to the same website at the same time. Things generally don't go well.
So in this drop, it seems there's from what I could determine from the medium, maybe 1,000 packs are going to be gone during this process, but there are 1,900 packs in total, so 900 kept aside for obviously various other things.
Let me.
Is that?
I'll find the exact number and I'll post it in our Telegram of the actual packs. I think it was a little bit less than 1,900. There's obviously 400 packs being held for rainbows and unicorns across the raffles and auctions.
Yep.
And as we've announced, we are keeping some packs aside. I believe it's less than 10% though of the total number for us to use for prizes and giveaways. And obviously, thanks to the blockchain, that process will be fully transparent. So you'll be able to see where those packs actually go. And honestly, most of them will most likely go for tournament prizes for events that we run over time as well. But yeah, obviously want to be super transparent with the community that yes, we are keeping some packs aside for that purpose. But like I said, they're not packs that we're holding back to try and sell or anything of that nature. They are specifically, they will go to the community basically. We're using it as, think of it, I guess, kind of like a marketing or promotional allocation. If that
No,
makes
definitely,
sense.
that's fine. That's all good. Actually, it's 1,153, I think, because I didn't include the 17 per bundle by 9 in the chat bundles. So yeah, cool. All right.
But I mean, we have announced, so the rares have a edition of 600, the legendary is 200, and the mythic 100. And that's regardless of chain. So in the same way that like mythics in the past, there was only 100 of them minted. That will be the same for the 7 Deadly Sins mythic, 200 for legendary, 600 for the rares. So.
And for our rainbows and unicorns, have we got a determination of whether all the gold and chroma earned staked unicorns are available, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're getting the devs to check that for us, just to make sure that the systems we're building for the raffles and auctions will see all of your rainbows and unicorns correctly. If that's not live tomorrow, it will be live as soon as we can get it all sort of coded in and sort of worked out.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Cool.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to, let's smash through some questions.
Okay, I'll just run through as they sort of came in, I suppose. XBen on Twitter asked, how do we compete against other upcoming TCG games like at Cross the Ages in terms of development, beta release, and marketing?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Hang on, sorry, just one sec. I will answer that question. I just want to put this up on screen as well while I do. There we go. Cool. Yeah. So it's an interesting question, and you can sort of divide, at least where we look at our competition, into two broad categories. And I know if you've seen some of my rants on Telegram, you've probably heard some of this before, so I apologize for repeating myself. But you've got our competition, which are fellow Web3 TCGs. So there's a few of those out there. There's a few in development and stuff like that. And then I still personally believe that our other main competition is traditional TCGs. And by that, I specifically mean, and will call out, and I don't care, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and other games of that nature.
Hearthstone.
In terms of our Web3 competition, I'm never gonna try to push us up by pushing other people down. There are some cool games out there. I've played a lot of Skyweaver. I think it's a really great game. I personally believe that we have a better game, but at the end of the day, my opinion of that actually doesn't matter. What matters is everyone else's opinion, being our community, other communities out there, and just gamers in general. I've said all along, our goal is to create the best digital trading card game that we can. We obviously love and will continue to work with and support our Web3 roots. we are going to do everything we can to get as many traditional gamers into the Lords of Light at the same time as well. You know, I think I've said this publicly. I can't remember, but I'll do it now. Who cares? My personal goal is that within 12 months of launching the Lords of Light, so later on this year, we're going into full launch. I want us to have had 1 million players play the game.
Jeez.
And we reveal as much as we can to our community. I know this question did ask about what we're doing in terms of marketing and stuff as well. All I will say is 1 million players is a big number, and we have the marketing team, the marketing budget, and the marketing expertise in place to make that happen. I know I'm not going to say when, but very, very soon, Artkin and Mindspheres, our two co-founders, are actually flying over to the US for a couple of weeks. That may or may not be related. It's up to them if they want to reveal more details around their travel plans. I'll actually be going over there to join them at some point in the very near future. So apologies in advance. Some of the AMAs, the times might need to shift around slightly, but yeah, we'll obviously announce that on Telegram. But yeah, we're serious about this. We are going to do everything we can to make the best digital trading card game that we can. And yeah, we've got some amazing competitors in the space. And like I said, there are some great Web3 and just traditional trading card games out there. And if you enjoy the Lords of Light, go try them out. Like, you may find that, in the same way that I like lasagna and I like ice cream, maybe you like the Lords of Light and you like Magic the Gathering. But yeah, that's definitely our goal. And we're going to do everything we can to make that a reality for ourselves and for our community.
Ash Hole just down the bottom said, but sir, not enough cards for all. How do you handle, like, with the amount of cards we have, 1 million players?
Yep, we know. There will be ways to unlock cards within the game to at least allow you to play them within decks without particularly owning the NFTs. We're still working out what that looks like. But again, any design decisions we make around that will be done with our Web3 community foremost in our mind. It's the nature of the beast. If we're going to mint cards that have a limited edition, and we've publicly announced our reprint policy, we will not reprint NFTs. As the community grows, that would mean one of two things. Either we need to release so many more cards that we're just going to flood the market, which we don't want to do. We very much believe in quality over quantity in the things that we choose to do. But yeah, obviously, some of the systems we've spoken about previously. So the ability to rent cards and decks, for example. But yeah, we're definitely looking at how we can have 1 million people in the game, playing the game, without not necessarily without damaging the secondary market in any way, but more we're trying to do it in a way that will actually prop up the secondary market. So that's our goal basically. But yeah, there'll be more details around that as soon as we have everything sort of locked in. And definitely when we do start to publicly announce those plans, it will be in consultation with our community as well, as with everything that we do. Like, if you're in our Discord, if you're in our Telegram, you know that a bunch of our devs, our co-founders, we're all in there. And yeah, like, we may not respond to every discussion that breaks out publicly, but I guarantee you, every time you guys, I wake up in the morning and there's, a couple of hundred posts in one of the community chat because, this big conversation about something around our game is broken out. I guarantee you that we're discussing it the next day. Go like, hey, the community's bringing this up. Like, is this a problem? Is this something we need to address? Hey, they're really happy with this. Cool, we got one right. So yeah, it's an interesting puzzle to try and solve from a design perspective, but yeah, we've got the right team to do it.
Yeah, and I think Raini Studios, one of the biggest things is that the taking in of feedback and the attempt. Really, everything I've seen since joining has been to keep integrity, I suppose, in the things that they're doing. And if they can't do it for some reason, something has to change. Then, as with maybe the staking of the gold and chromas, they add in extra things like the airdrops of Photon and things like that, just to help to even out the blow, I suppose, if something has to change, which is a fantastic thing for a project to do, for sure.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. Like, game development is not a science. It's a mixture of art, freeform jazz, and let's see if this works. There are a lot of things across everything we do where sometimes it's a case of like, we've got, I've said it a million times, we've got some of the most experienced developers in the world. Like, our team would be the envy of so many other studios anywhere in the world. And I have zero doubt in my mind when I say that. But sometimes, especially in this Web3 environment, everything's new. I can't sit back and go, hey, let's go see what some other games have done in the past to figure out the best way to solve a problem, because no one's done this. We are literally doing the ungoogleable. And will we get things wrong? Sure. Like, we're not perfect. I mean, I am, but you know what I mean. But yeah, if nothing else, we will always be open and transparent with our community when we get things right and when we get things wrong. And if we get things wrong, we will do everything in our power to, correct that for our community as well.
Excellent. Good on you, mate. Carry on with the questions.
Yeah, go for it.
George, Saruman the White, will the Chad packs be one quantity per wallet until the first hour ends?
I just literally got a message from our developers, which I think... Yeah, so the plan at this stage, I believe, is that there'll be no restrictions on collector packs per wallet, but there'll be a restriction on Chad bundles per wallet for the first hour. The reason we're doing that, it's really simple. There's only 9 available. We hope they go to 9 different people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's systems we could have looked at. There's like, whitelisting and approvals and blah blah blah. But honestly, anything that restricts people being able to support us, support the game, get involved, like any barriers to entry, any friction points that you add, is generally just a negative experience for the players. And let's face it, they don't work anyway, because if I really had my heart set on buying multiple chat bundles, then I just set up a bunch of different wallets in and get different people to all be in front of laptops at the time, hitting F5. So we'll do everything we can to make sure. Oh, Ash, this is nothing, bro. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that those chat bundles go to different people. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, in the same way that if you're involved in buying any collectible, it's the same sort of thing. Like, there's always going to be the lineup outside when the new iPhone launches, the new Xbox launches. We'll do everything we can, but yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it's just out of our hands.
Yeah, of course. No, that's fine. Just a question from Malvolio. What are the current top 5 priority items in the to-do list of the RTLOL game devs?
Yeah, I saw this question pop up beforehand. I'm like, how do we even start to answer that? I'm not going to try and rank them. Let me just run through some of the things that I can talk about publicly. So there are things that we are working on right now, which we have not revealed to the public, that I'm not going to say here. And I completely get that goes completely in the face of everything I just said about being open and transparent. But when you're dealing with certain situations, I've got to word this so carefully. There could be legal or non-disclosure agreements or other reasons why we can't talk about things that we are working on yet. Keep in mind, though, if they are these sort of things where, both sides involved have legal teams looking over documents, there's a reason we're putting the effort in. I'll leave it at that, basically. So this is not the complete list. This is not a ranked list. This isn't a prepared list. This is just me off the top of my head going, all right, what are we working on at the moment? So the standalone build launched last week. That went really well. We're super happy with how that's going. We love our friends at Elixir. Definitely give them a follow, give them a shout out. They're awesome. And that's been going really well. At the moment, we're taking a lot of the feedback we got from the weekend. We had more games run at any one time than we've had in the history of RTLOL in terms of games with real human players from all over the world. So we're literally going through every single server log, every bug report that was submitted, just to go through everything, to do everything we can to really polish up the standalone build. What else are we up to? Seven Deadly Sins. We're doing some final implementation stuff and a lot of bug testing around that. Charity in particular, I know I gotta look at a bunch of bugs. No, not Charity, Chastity, sorry. I gotta look at some bugs for that today. Because yeah, when our original game was built, no one ever thought that you'd be trying to play cards on your opponent's side of the board. So that's created some interesting bugs for both our developers and QA to deal with, but also for design and UX to deal with as well. Because we've got to think of what's the design language? How do we teach someone to play a card on the wrong side of the board? Like, how do we teach them that that's happening? So there's a lot of iteration and design work happening around there. We're still in the middle of a massive quality of life push, which hopefully you've started to see some of those things coming out now. So, for example, when you play Bear Market, there's now a cool like particle effect that shows when it's dealing the damage to different minions and stuff like that. We've ramped up the number of OPAs in the game. So if you haven't yet, go play Meme Coin Mania or the Year of the Rabbit card. Like those seasons look amazing. Airdrop's got like the cool animation now. There's so many things just in terms of polish that we're doing, just to really make sure that when we hit open beta and full launch, when we open the floodgates to thousands, tens of thousands of players all at once, everything's got to be just absolutely rock solid for that to work. The new tutorials will be going live this week. So there's 3 stages of tutorials. The third one, you're actually playing a game against an AI opponent. So yeah, a really great way to learn the game. And the players who have been helping us out and have tested that are having a much easier experience when they actually get into the full game because they've actually had real game experience by that point. So that's been really fun. We've got the trip to the US with all the work involved in making sure that trip is successful, and that's all I'll say on that one. Set 3 is it's hard to quantify design. The design is in progress for set 3 is the best way to put it. We've got like the mechanics down pat. We've got like a first pass of what different minions will do. I've got like a vision board where I actually like sort of sketch out and like flow chart out what I call Kodak moments. So like one of the weird things we do from a design, I don't think I've said this publicly before, one of the cool things we do from a design perspective is we sort of go, all right, with this particular mechanic, whatever it might happen to be, how do we want it to feel when a player plays it or when it's played against you? Like, we sort of try to build epic moments within the game and then let the players sort of discover them and then experience them for themselves. China ban, not China, crypto ban is a great example of that as well. Where you have that sort of cool, like just big sort of, explosion effect. And there's plenty of cards in Seven Deadly Sins built with that sort of design philosophy in mind as well.
Sorry,
We're
mate. I
chatting with
lost my head.
That's cool. I'm still going. I don't know where I'm up to yet in terms of numbers, but yeah, I'm just going to keep babbling for a while.
Sure.
Blue Mint, we're chatting with them about our tournament structures. They've been awesome for supporting our tournament so far. And we want to obviously chat with them, get some of their expertise to work out the best way to run bigger tournaments moving forward, where we can hopefully have them not run quite as long. Definitely give us some feedback on that. I think 7 hours might be a little long for a tournament. But I mean, having said that, we're going to have our finals between Trixo and Huncho later in the week. And we'll be streaming that live as well. That'll be really fun to actually do our first live broadcast of a game. And that obviously will have live commentary with that as well. What else? Bunch of marketing stuff that's coming up. Obviously, the Seven Deadly Sins mint is a big thing. The Signature Collection is a big thing. Set 4 is starting design. It's very, very early days for that at this stage, but yeah, we definitely try to get ahead of it and sort of at least have a rough idea of the sort of overarching themes that the set may have from like a top-down design perspective. So like set 3, for example, is codenamed Formations. And I mean, I can tell you the elevator pitch for that set is board position matters. Where you play things on the board will matter in set 3. Feel free to dissect that as you will, basically. But yeah, hopefully that gives some idea of everything going on. There is more than that I can't talk about at this stage. But yeah, a lot going on. But yeah, the team's all over it. We've got like without name dropping, like I said, a bunch of our team are in like our Telegram and Discord and that. Art's in there, development's in there, our lead producer's in there. And yeah, we're all sort of just heads down and building towards that full launch. Which, I mean, even that's full, like, game development in these days, like full launch is step 1. Then the goal becomes, all right, we've got that done. Now, how do we keep this going for the next 10 years? So yeah.
Awesome, mate. Just from Seb, is the wallet limit for the raffles 10 tickets per 10 hours or 1 per 10 hour?
It's 10 tickets per raffle. So it's actually going to be 20 tickets per hour because there'll be a rainbow and a unicorn raffle running simultaneously. But yeah, you can basically choose to buy up to 10 tickets in each of those 2 raffles every 10 hours. So if you're sitting on a lot of rainbows and unicorns, great, you'll have plenty of opportunities to enter the raffles. If you're not sitting on many, maybe you want to just sprinkle a few around. Maybe you wait and see which raffles look like they've got less tickets in them, and you pump all your tickets into that to give yourself the best shot. That's, I said, the overarching goal of this system is we're letting the community decide what the value of rainbows and unicorns to a pack should be. So yeah, and then obviously we'll have the auction system kick in later on, which will be running over 10 hours as well, where that's basically for our whales to flex on each other and try to outbid each other. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes as well.
And that ends dead on time. There's no extension for late bids or anything like that. It's just it's a sniping type auction right at the end.
Yep, but keep in mind, obviously, with the auctions, it'll be similar. If you've used eBay, you know how auctions work, hopefully, where you enter like your max bid, and the system will basically automatically bid you up to that point. So, like, it's up to you to decide if there's 10 seconds to go. Do you want to just try to slightly outbid your opponent, or do you want to just throw in whatever the max is you'd be happy with and see where it lands? But no, they won't be extending at all. We talked about doing like Dutch auctions and stuff like that, but at least for 7 Deadly Sins, this feels like both the most straightforward approach that people will understand, as well as the fairest option that we could run there as well.
Fantastic. That's great, mate. A question from Amenigal Mecha X. I've got a question. Is it possible to know which blockchain have the most cards on it? Is it ETH? He was thinking of bridging everything to AVAX. Although it doesn't seem to really matter, I suppose, does it?
So there's a few related answers to this. The first one being that if you're purely thinking from a gameplay perspective, it will not matter at all. Your cards can be on Ethereum, Binance, BSC, or Avalanche. As far as in-game, they will all work the exact same way. So just putting that out there, basically. So I know some players have been worried that they're going to have to move their cards around to be able to play. That's not the case at all. As I've said during this AMA, and I'll say it again and again, the whole idea of decentralized assets is we want you to have your assets where you want them to be. We will happily support you across the chains that we choose to support. Now, second part of that thing is, please don't try to bridge Genesis cards to Avalanche yet. That contract is not live on Avalanche, and we're actually not sure if we will move Genesis to Avalanche or not at this stage. But if we're talking about Year of the Rabbit onwards, I'm asking our Telegram. I'm sure there's a way to look at the contracts and see where the cards are. Or, I mean, our blockchain devs might jump in and provide some more info on that. I'm sure there is a way to do it. But yeah, Obviously, from Year of the Rabbit onwards, you'll be able to bridge cards between the 3 chains: Ethereum, BSC, Avalanche. It's up to you where you choose to put them. But yeah, I have no doubt there is a way to figure out how many there are on each chain. But yeah, ask now Telegram. I'm sure someone will be able to help you out better than I can on that one. Just
Okay.
quickly, I've just seen Ash put a thing, bring back card positioning. Just so you're aware, you can play cards in any position. When you drag a minion out, just hold it over like your current minions. You'll see them sort of move out of the way to let you drop them wherever you like. So just in case people weren't aware of that, you can definitely play them wherever you want to on the board. Even though we got rid of the 7 like fixed spots like we had previously, under the hood you actually still have those 7 spots. We just sort of push them together. Yeah, I know we used to have it where you could have gaps on the board. When you see the cards in set 3, you'll understand why we've changed it to the way we have now. So
sounds good. GM Gaming is asking, what are the minting fees for all packs in Chad pack? I know there's no minting fees on the rainbows and unicorns, but
yep, no minting fees on those. And the only mint fee for the other ones will just be like the gas you need plus the cost of the pack. So we're not slapping any other fees or anything on there. It's just like the cost of the pack plus whatever gas you need to actually move it into your own wallet.
okay, cool. That's excellent. Michael JNZ, after a game launch, if you think a card is too strong, will you nerf it? Do something like add cards that counter it?
We may do either or both. So our goal obviously is to not have to ban or nerf cards. But if you've played other TCGs, you know that's just not going to happen. We've got an amazing QA and testing team that tests and plays as many games as we can. But the community will always play more than we do just because there's more of you than there is of us. So I have no doubt that, let's face it, Huncho will break the meta in some crazy way again. And if that happens, then yeah, we'll address it on a case-by-case basis. Generally speaking, we'll never nerf a card in a way that makes it completely unplayable. We will nerf or buff a card to adjust its power wherever possible. And as a general rule of thumb, my personal preference would be not to nerf a card, but it would be to print a card that acts as a natural counter to the card. It's more open-ended design. But yeah, like I said, if we were to do something that was just absolutely broken, then yes, we will either nerf it or do something to basically restore the metagame to a better state. But yeah, we obviously do a lot of testing beforehand to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. But I mean, especially as we move forward, like, every time we release a new set, there's an exponential number of new decks and new strategies and new interactions to test, and we can't test them all. So we do the best we can. When we do like design passes on sets, we specifically call out things that we want our QA team to test. So for example, like I'll use Chastity as an example because there's a lot of testing happening on that at the moment. Specifically, we'll be testing how they interact with time travel, with Crypto Shill, with Satoshi Stacker when it's back in your hand. I believe we're going to be one of the few unique TCGs where theoretically your opponent's card could get shuffled into your deck. So yeah, like I said, we test as much as we can, but yeah, if we miss something, and we will, we'll do what we need to do to get the meta back to a healthy state.
That sounds fair enough. Just while you're on that, Ash Hole has asked, how many testers have you got, not counting us plebs? So like in the background there, team-wise.
If we're not counting community members, we're just counting like design and QA. It's about half a dozen or so, give or take.
Okay, cool.
And keep in mind that's not including like, a lot of the core dev team, plays games on their lunch breaks, and stuff like that, or when a dev, or even when art is doing an art pass on the card and they want to see how it looks, under a bunch of different situations, they'll jump in and they'll play games and sort of test around with it like that as well. So there's a lot more testing that happens, I guess, on a more casual basis throughout the whole team. But yeah, dedicated testers, yeah, it'd be about half a dozen, give or take, between design and QA.
Okay, cool. Cackling had a 23, and this has been mostly answered, I suppose, but those collector bundles will come first serve, he assumes, and that's correct. How many weeks will these sales be running for? First week, there are 3 on each chain, and then there's a 10% sale, so assuming more weeks. So obviously, if they don't sell, is that what you're talking about there?
I assume so. Yeah, if they don't sell, they'll be available until they do. But yeah, the 10% off sale will run for the first week only.
Sweet.
So yeah, if you are looking to buy packs or bundles, generally speaking, that first week would be the ideal time to do so. But yeah, like we have no intention of like turning off the sales until the set is sold.
Yep, sure. Sounds good. Joffers has just asked, are you going to release the card? Are you going to release the card already in the game, like Lorem Ipsum in the next set? So all the cards that are in the game that aren't currently released, are they getting released with, obviously not
Yeah, for
Seven
sure.
Deadly Sins, but the next one?
Yeah, so that's going to be what we call set 2 or seasons. That is scheduled to be released in April at this stage. I know originally we had discussed that would be the next set that we would actually mint and sell. We switched it around with 7 Deadly Sins for 2 reasons. One, it means we could launch the 7 Deadly Sins on Valentine's Day, and it just felt too good not to do that. But more importantly, our metagame has been pretty much the same for almost a year. And if you played on the weekend, you would have seen that even just adding 1 card with Year of the Rabbit shook up a lot of decks and changed things around. We wanted to basically switch the sets around to get the new set out first, for the effect it will have on our metagame and on our gameplay. As I'm sure a lot of people will realize when they look at the cards in 7 Deadly Sins, there's a lot of new exciting decks here for players to experiment with, which is exactly what we want. We want lots of different strategies that hopefully will break the current Banish, Elementals, Phoenix triangle of like S tier decks at the moment. So yeah.
This question, I suppose, has been asked and answered, I believe, a number of times. But P. Perez, is Rainy going to be the main coin for the Rainiverse games?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm seeing this question pop up a fair bit. So we might push out a medium fairly soon, just to go into a bit more detail about how this is all planned to work. So Rainy, at this stage, again, please preface all of this with this is our current plans. We may change things down the road if that would create a better ecosystem for our collectors, investors, and players. But at this stage, Rainy is a staking token. We have no plans for you to actually be able to directly spend Rainy within the game. The idea is that you stake Rainy to earn rainbows and unicorns. Now, if the question is, will rainbows and unicorns be spendable within the game? That's a much more interesting question. And obviously, there's also, if you read the medium for the mint tomorrow, you'll see that we're basically going to allow players to transfer their on-chain bows and corns into what we're calling Rainiverse unicorns and rainbows. The main reason for that, primarily for now, is so that when you are, say, buying tickets or participating in auctions, you're not going to have to spend gas fees for every transaction. Because imagine if every 10 hours you had rainbows and unicorns on Ethereum, if every 10 hours you had to actually spend gas on a transaction to buy your next set of raffle tickets, that would just be crazy. So we're going to transfer them off chain into basically like Rainiverse bows and corns that will allow you to basically use them from there. You will then eventually be able to move them back on chain if you really want. There's not a great deal of point at this stage, but that's obviously up to the community if they want to do that. But yeah, having them as Rainiverse rainbows and unicorns will make it significantly easier if down the road we had systems in place where you could buy things in the Lords of Light or in other Raini Studios titles using those. So I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, the primary coin or token, I should say, that you would be spending within the Lords of Light and other games at this stage would be Photon, which obviously, if you are staking cards at the moment, you are vesting or you're gaining X Photon that will vest for Photon down the road. And again, our goal for the user experience with Photon specifically from in-game is that spending Photon should be as easy as spending coins in a game like Clash of Clans. So that will be a high utility token within that game. And yeah, we want to make sure that it's as easy to spend, which means obviously we need to be working with a chain that has very low gas fees or no gas fees if you have a subnet, for example. And yeah. So yeah, but yeah, we'll probably look at doing a medium. I mean, we'll definitely do it closer to launch anyway, but maybe we'll do something in the interim just to go in a bit more detail around that as well.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, mate. I mean, it's a great strategy, I suppose, the holding of Raini basically, and the rewards that you spend, not the Raini itself, but the rainbows and the unicorns are money effectively for the ecosystem. So, I mean,
Yep.
yeah, brilliant strategy. The team's fantastic. Chapu's just asked a question. Does the SEC play on staking make you have other plans for the USA market?
I am not going to comment on that at this time.
Okay, that's cool.
So we are seeking independent legal advice and we'll base our decisions off that for any changes we may need to make for the US market. But yeah, there's nothing that will be happening right now.
Yep.
And obviously, we know we have a large community in America, and we will do everything we can to support our players in that region.
Okay, cool. Cackling How to 23 has just asked last one in the chat there, but there's one more after this. But are we still getting the 20% extra photon at the end of the staking? I suppose if that's you got a Chad set, Chad, Giga Chad or with the cards.
I would need to check that because that was a decision that was made before I came back to.
Yeah, I mean it.
Yep.
The deal was if you had all the cards, you get a bonus at the end of staking, and nothing has changed to that effect. So that should be the case,
Cool.
as far
Then,
as I can tell.
if that was the case, then yes, that would be the case. So.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have changed. I've heard nothing to say that it has changed, so it won't have changed. And final question from Sebastian the Sweeper: when moon?
Tomorrow. And,
All right.
and I'll give that answer. I'll give that same answer tomorrow too.
Yeah, fantastic. Tomorrow. Yep. Well, that's it, mate. That's all the questions that I can see in the chats and everything.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Hopefully that's been. I mean, 1 hour 20. That's pretty short for our AMAs usually. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's obviously we're always more than happy to do these sort of AMAs and just try and give as much information out to our community as possible. Enjoy the 7 Deadly Sins mint tomorrow. Good luck if you're entering those first raffles. Good luck if you're trying to get one of the Chad bundles. And yeah, like I said, don't forget the signature collection is running pretty much up until the start time as well. So lots of ways for you to get involved. And yeah, follow us on all our socials. So Twitter, Telegram, Discord, and any updates we'll post in there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for all the info, mate.
Cool. No, easy done. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.